as you are growing day after day, as you're living your lives day after day, those kind of like, what's he doing? What's she doing? Is this how she does this? Is this how he does this? Then I feel that those are the very important things you need not keep quiet about. Are you happily married, single and searching, or single and not searching? You're in the right space. We're all students of life, and we're here to celebrate and explore the secrets of long-lasting relationships and marriages.
In each episode, we dive deep into topics like communication, family dynamics, parenting, finances, health, and wellness.
Join us on this exciting journey as we create stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling relationships, one episode at a time. Welcome to Life on Stereo.
Hello, Lifers, and welcome to today's episode. Now, today we have something amazing for you. We'll be talking about navigating the newlywed phase. Yes. Now, this is... from our own story, it's been 4 years in marriage, a little over that. And we feel we are still in the newlywed phase.
Aren't we?
Yes. So it's a phase of a lot of excitement, lots of expectations, and many things that we look forward to. Yeah. But it can sometimes be a little bit challenging as well. Mm-hmm. So today we'll be looking at all of that and many more on this episode. Are you excited for us to do this?
I really am. I hope that our audience is ready, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yes.
So,
Can we dive in?
Yeah, let's just go right in. Mm-hmm. So maybe we should just think back. How has it been the past 4 years, 4+ years? I need to add a plus.
Yes, we're almost 5 years actually.
Almost 5 years.
Getting there.
We still call this the newlywed phase because 5 years comes very quickly.
It really does.
There's so much that happens in that period. Am I right? So just take it away. And what do you think has happened in the last 5 years?
Yes. 5 years of marriage. Yeah, it's been great. Like, I don't think that you can entirely anticipate how it's going to be like.
Right.
Okay. You can anticipate the excitement. You can listen to others who have been married newly, but especially because we are unique people. You are a unique person. There is nobody like me in the entire world.
Exactly.
So if you put this particular pair of Judith and Kingsley together, we're different. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's
so
true, yeah.
No matter how anybody else's experience is, there are things that are common to man. There are things that are common to everybody, right?
Yeah.
But there are things that are so unique to every couple. And I think that is what we have experienced. And I always say that it is not entirely the best, if I should say, or what I'm trying to say, that people have to be balanced when they are sharing their experience, not to make it like a strict jacket or like a path that everybody must go on. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you hear people say that, oh, the first year of marriage is very challenging. Right. It's very this. So then the person is entering into the marriage and it's like, hey, I'm bracing for challenges. I'm bracing for major friction here and there. But I think that personal preparation also serves a lot, right? It gives you more buffer when you are going into the marriage, such that you may not have the degree of challenges that others seem to have, or the other way around. So I think that every couple is unique, but we hope that as we share ours and share general counsel, that anybody out there can relate and then also be motivated and be excited about their newlywed phase, if they are not there yet. If they are yet to be married.
Yes.
Yeah.
So exactly, and as you said, it can be different for everyone. Even though we're going to share, some how we saw it, what we've experienced. It's also very important that you listening try to adapt it to your own situation.
Yes,
Because
very
it's not
important.
it's not like no one can give you a template to living in marriage.
No.
They can't give you. I mean, there's countless books out there and all that, but as to a specific guideline that if you follow, everything is going to be all right. It's not really out there. So it's important that while you listen to it, you figure out what are some of the elements that relate, with you, and see how you can apply it.
Yeah, how you fit it to your
particular
personality, your bond, and your relationship, your goals, and all that. And I believe that there are principles that you cannot change, right? Like, okay, respect. We need to respect each other. We need to, go in with humility towards each other, be forgiven towards each other. So the principles are set, and they are good. So that is what we need to learn most of all. However, having said that, there are, for instance, if scientists do experiments, right? They use a sample, a pool, right? And so out of that pool, the likelihood that things that happen to this, this species or this couple might happen to someone is quite likely. So, and that is why it's important to listen to experienced people, because you can save yourself a lot,
the same thing.
Right? If that particular thing wasn't good. So that's exactly what we are going to do. So we want to
maybe we just give them a little glimpse of what we'll be discussing likely in this episode. So we'll be talking about the honeymoon period.
Yes, we will.
So that's right after just the
wedding.
immediate phase after the wedding.
Yes.
And then what else are we going to be talking about?
We will talk about merging two lives together. We are separate people, so merging those lives together.
And we'll talk about discovering each other's quirks.
Yes, we will also talk about the beauty of friendship.
Yes, and then when it comes to conflict and so on, we'll also discuss growing pains and misunderstandings.
Yeah, all the challenges that come with it. Well, some of them. So I think we should just
maybe we'll dive right in, and then
what do you have to say about newlyweds, honeymoon? What happens in the honeymoon?
I would say in the honeymoon phase, this is the first time you most likely the first time you have the chance to be with your spouse alone in a place which is far from, and please make sure that place is not that close to home.
You recommend that?
I do recommend that. So
why?
You need to someone shouldn't be able to just take 5-10 minutes drive and come to the place where you're having your honeymoon. If I preferred a place where it's not too close, that friends of mine will just be hanging out in that same location.
Here we are.
Exactly. So just some alone time. That's nice. And that's the first time. Well, hopefully the first time you are getting to know each other. So I believe that phase is really exciting.
Yes.
A lot of things to explore about each other's feelings, intimacy with each other,
yes,
and all that. So in that phase, I usually would recommend that people would not raise their expectations so much. Now, I say this because sometimes you may have held on to certain, doing certain things with your wife for so many years you've been together. And so that builds some level of expectation, like, all the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
But it's always good to just manage those so that when you get to the honeymoon, you take it easy.
Yeah.
You don't just jump right into to make things awkward and so on.
Yeah.
But by all means, that period is really exciting.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think that I am going to rephrase what you said just a little bit. I am not so much about maybe raising or lowering your expectation. However, not to have a specific picture in mind that it has to go this way. I think that if you just put it in your mind that this is time for just us.
Right.
This is time for just us, and have an open mind, be ready to get to know the other person. There might be some conversations that you may not have had, in your courting stage, because maybe it was too sensitive, or you just didn't feel safe enough or committed enough. Now you are as committed as it gets, right? So this is an opportunity to really bring everything on board, like explore each other, begin to explore each other, even physically, which is very important, like consummating the marriage, and maybe would you want to say something about that? But like maybe take it easy. I don't know.
Take it easy.
Yeah. And like, even when it comes to like physical intimacy too, not, for instance, if one party has already known other has had sexual partners before the marriage, then it behoves on that person not to project what the person has experienced previously onto the other person. But
that's very important.
See each other like, we're here, we are doing this, newly, and it is, as I'm not going to project any kind of expectation on you, and you're not going to do the same on me, we're just going to go communicate as you go. And then it's I think that it's a wonderful time to really like block out everybody else, everything else. You're not working, you're not doing anything, just focus on each other and maximize it, because
exactly,
maximize it.
That's a period which you need to really build a lot of memories. And you need to try as much as possible to have a lot of fun, so that
take a lot of pictures and videos,
so that sometime down the line, if you become really busy with stuff, you can always reminisce and think about those times when you were having all
memories
that fun.
Are really beautiful, and it just takes you back. It gives you sort of like a reference point. Like years down the line, we look at our wedding pictures, some of the videos that we had, and we're like, oh wow, and you're like, all smiles and just fuzzy feelings all over again. And then it just like reminds you where you started from, and then how far you've come, and hope for what is yet to come. So
I mean, if we think about that, because in a marriage you have two completely different people coming together, and merging, sometimes I think of it as like two companies when two companies are going to go through a merger. And sometimes it may be that the companies have like similar products, so that might be quite smooth. For example, like in Ghana, two telecom companies merged together, Airtel, Tigo. Right. Okay. So they are both into telecommunication. They just will expand their network, combine the equipment and so on. That's not too bad. But sometimes certain companies want to diversify, so they want to go into other stuff. So then they merge with other companies that are not really that related to them in terms of what they do. So now in a marriage, I think it can be either of these two scenarios. It may be that the two people come from similar
Very
cultural
similar,
background, religious background, and so on. And it may also be that the two people are from completely different races, completely different cultures, completely different religious backgrounds, and so on.
Yes.
So let's think about this. So what are some of the possible? And I think our situation is a little bit of the first scenario because we're both Christians.
Yes.
Actually, same church.
Yes.
From before.
Interesting.
Exactly, and then same tribe,
Yeah,
so to say.
tribe,
We
yes.
speak the same language.
Yes.
So that's probably made it a little easier, right?
On the cultural
aspect,
yes.
yeah. But then again, I think it also boils down to the environment that we both grew up in. Now, you were exposed to completely different stuff. I was exposed to completely different stuff.
Yes.
I may understand things completely differently from the way you understand things. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think people can navigate or go around some of these?
I really like the analogy that you use, like two companies merging.
Yeah.
Right. It's a really good analogy because when they merge, if the company that is taken, well, I'm not going to say company that is taken over because in a marriage nobody is taking over. We are going together, right? We are becoming one, and in the becoming one, in that oneness process. For instance, in the company, they might have to fire some employees. They might have to lay off some employees, right? And then keep some employees depending on the agenda and the goal that they have for this new company that has come up. And I think that is how the marriage is. These two people, we are coming together from different backgrounds, even though we have very similar cultural backgrounds and all that, but coming together, there are things in our lives that some of them we had to let go of.
Yeah.
And then some of them we had to keep because they were beneficial or congruent. They were in agreement with the goals for our marriage, the goals for the relationship that we have. And those things that do not, align with how we want to live our lives, we had to discuss them. And then even some of them, we didn't discuss them on the go, but as we're going newlyweds, as they come up, as you live your lives together, things come up, things that you probably didn't think about when you were courting. They just come up because you're living your natural life and the two of you are living in the same house. So even the way you do things at home, might
completely
differ.
Different, yeah.
Exactly. And so as you are growing day after day, as you're living your lives day after day, those kind of like, what's he doing? What's she doing? Is this how she does this? Is this how he does this? Then I feel that those are the very important things you need not keep quiet about.
Yeah.
Like when you notice it, not to keep quiet and say, is this how she does this? Maybe I don't like it or I don't understand why he or she is doing it that way. You need to bring it up.
Yeah.
You need to bring it up so that the merger can be smooth and it can be a beautiful
and then
new family.
Yeah. So while you were saying that one sort of funny but interesting scenario, I know someone who said that in her dad basically doesn't eat food that has been
cooked a day prior.
So he prefers to eat fresh food all the time. So in a scenario where a guy or a girl, a lady or a guy come from a house where they always make fresh food and eat fresh food and eat, and then now they're married, they need to live life based on, depending on the kind of work they do, they might think it's a smart move to actually cook and store. And now that then becomes, that's strange. Why would you want to cook food, put in the freezer for days or weeks and so on? So in a situation like that, this is something that someone has been used to for decades.
Yes.
But now it seems they have to quickly adapt and change.
Yes.
And that can be challenging sometimes. I'm not going to sit here and say, just get on with it, agree to the other person.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if someone is on, the other side of a spectrum and you're on the other side, you might want to do something to each.
Maybe meet halfway.
Yes. Come to some sort of agreement and then move on with. So it may be different scenarios.
And with that, just to add to that, sometimes, right? For instance, let's just say you're the gentleman who wants a freshly prepared food every day, right? And in our family, I am the one that does the cooking. Right. If you're the same person that does the cooking, it might not be an issue because after all, you're the same person cooking. So you just do it and then we eat it. However, if the other party is the one that does the cooking and the person's schedule makes it quite challenging for the person to do that, and you can see, so you, the party that wants that, we are in this together. And you have to be sensitive. If you really see that this person is struggling with this, like having to do this every day, you can see how it's stressing the person. Bring it up because probably when you're newlyweds, you still don't want to displease each other. You still want to do everything. But for love's sake and for, you caring about the other party, you might want to say, hey, I see that you're stressing with it. Can we do something about it? Or the person that is doing all the cooking in this is just an example. You can also, some might decide, okay, let me start doing it for this person. And maybe as you start, don't just decline on the, when the person says, no, I can't do this.
I can't do that.
But then you also have to try to do something that makes the person happy, right? So you're trying to outdo each other in love. So this person trying to outdo you will say, hey, sweetheart, like I can see how stressful this is for you. How can we compromise on this so that your life can be easier and my life can be easier so we can live happily?
Yeah, so it's a matter of, sometimes you have to sacrifice some things you really like. For the sake of love and for the sake of living together. Because when you live together with someone, for sure, would have to learn about each other and discover things about each other that will help us live,
And can I just add something before we move on? And when it comes to like letting the other person know something you dislike or something that you might want in another way or fashion, I think that it's very important the way we communicate it, right? Because if you come off the bat with, you're not doing this the way I want you to do it, then you're not being loving and you're not being and not speaking with grace. But then I think that when you go in softly with grace, like you might even bring it in a teasing way. Hey, I see that you do this way. Like, what do you think that one thing I realized that when you put suggestions in question form, you say that, right? When you put it in question form, it sounds easier. It sounds like gentle, more gentle than putting it to the person in a statement, like in an imperative form that, hey, I want you to do that. I want you to do this. But when you say,
people don't react.
Very nicely. It's like the person just takes it. Hey, who do you think you're speaking to? That's that kind of reaction that you might get. But then if you just say, what do you think about doing it this way? Have you considered doing it this way? Or can we try doing it? Then the person eases into it's much gentle.
But one thing we should also know is that patience and a little bit of sense of humor, because I'm just picking back on what you said. You just said sometimes saying things in a jovial way and also being patient with each other. That patience does quite a lot.
Can I give one funny example?
Okay.
So you like okra stew, right? Or okra soup. And when we got married, when I was making the okra soup, what happened to it? The slime was just gone, right? Okra is slimy. And then when I finished it, it tastes amazing, but the slimy nature of the okra was almost, well, not completely gone, but then it was not as slimy like you like it, right?
The okra gang will understand this. Like,
and the funny thing is, growing up, it was never an issue in my house. Like making okra stew in my house, the most important thing is the okra is in there. It tastes amazing. So like we prioritize taste over slime. So even if it draws a little bit, hey, we are good with it. But then getting married, I could see that. But then the funny thing is, I think you ate it like a couple of times before you even like brought it to my attention that this okra is very nice, though. But I don't know how come the slime is not as much. And then I'll be like, I don't know. This is how we do it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then what happened? You decided to do it on your own. And then I realized how you made me see that it is when you cover it, right?
And then
then the slime is completely gone. And that was really great, because I could have said, well, this is how I do it in my house,
and that's it.
And then you could have also said, she's doing it this way, I don't like it like that. And then you be on me like insisting that I make it work, and I just don't know how to make it work, because my default is to cover soups and sauces when it's being done. But then this particular soup or sauce can't be done like that. That was really good.
That's a funny one. Yeah, so it's just a matter of how you communicate it to make sure that the other party is not hurt by the way we communicate things. And with that, it can go a long way.
Yes.
Let's think about friendship. What do we think? What do you think? How does friendship play a role in those early years? Because everyone says you need to try as much as possible to marry your friend. You may be blessed or lucky enough to have built a really solid friendship before getting married. It may be that you didn't have a lot of time, or situations are different. You may not be the best of friends
before you got married.
You got married. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, personally, I think even if you were not the best of friends before getting married, it's something you need to work at.
This is your opportunity.
Actively.
Yes.
Because friendship it does a lot.
It really does.
Good friendship is like the so golden in those few years, early years of marriage. Of course, it's critical for the entire life of the marriage. But since we are focusing on the early first, 4 or 5 years of the marriage, friendship can get us through quite a lot. And things that were, on the other hand, if we're not really good friends, would have caused friction, because we are friends and we are able to have open, honest communication, then it's easy to bring them up and discuss them.
On that, fortunately, we were friends. And recently I was thinking about the fact that even though all those years we were not dating, we were not, involved in a relationship, we were just friends, we were actually building friendship. We're getting to know each other outside the box of relationship. And so we're just being our friends, like being ourselves. And I realized that was actually good for us, because we got to know each other outside that box. And there's a kind of ease, there is a kind of, I don't know, atmosphere that exists between friends. There's a kind of I don't know how to put it. Like the friendship feeling is quite unique.
Yeah.
Because it eases conversations. It just
everything feels
there's a
relaxed.
flow. It's relaxed. Exactly. It is relaxed. And I think that when you have that, when you pour into that, when you invest into friendship, whether it's during your courtship or when you get married newly, like to really pour into that, it becomes a really good foundation, an amazing foundation for your marriage, because friends don't exert undue pressure on each other to do things for each other. We know that we are there for each other, but we do not demand things from each other when we are friends, right? Because we know that it is not that person's responsibility to do all that for us, right? But then to know that I'm here for you, you're also here for me. Friends also find it easy to share, to share whatever is going on in their lives. They know that even if this person cannot help solve whatever problem that I have, that knowing that I have someone that I can just share with is really, really amazing. And it's the same in marriage. If you had that before marriage, that's great. But if you don't, then you have to build that in marriage, knowing that this person is my confidant and I can share, open up to the person, So I think friendship is so important.
And we can't stress that enough. Can we?
No.
It's I guess, well, maybe there might be some future episodes where we dig deeper in some of these topics, because some of these topics are not so easy to box into one episode. But this episode will try to talk about it, in bits and pieces, and then maybe in future episodes we take them into more detail. So if we think about some of the possible, we've talked about some of the challenges in those early phase, that early phase of the marriage. But if we think about some of the possible other challenges, for example, communication issues, because that seems to be a big deal for most couples. What are some of our thoughts on that?
I really think that communication is a big thing for marriage, for friendship, for whatever kind of relationship. Communication is huge. Because if you have certain desires or even expectations, sometimes you really have like reasonable expectations, but you're not communicating to the other person. You're thinking the other person should know what you want. And that's so unfair. So it's personally for me, I have learned to open up more and more. My personality, my kind of, temperament, we tend to keep things to ourselves most of the time. But then, getting married, I have learned to really open up and then say what I'm thinking and say what I'm feeling and what I'm expecting. And if it's, sometimes you don't even really want what you are thinking, but you just want to express it that, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And it's very good, because even as Christians, you would be surprised how marriage will be beneficial for your Christian life if you lean into it. Because it can really shape your character, that you'll be surprised, because this other person can be like a mirror to your own personality, your own quirks, your own temperament, your own strength, and your own weaknesses as well. And then sometimes it can rub you in a hard way, because none of us wants to see our low side or our weak side. We always want to project strength, but then we are human beings, and so we are not always strong. We are not always happy. We are not always up there. And so this other person is there to really be like a reflection of who you are. And I think that sometimes it's not because the person wants to show you that you are weak here, but things happen and then it sort of brings those things to, the fore of your mind. You see that, maybe someone is the other person is not demanding, but the person needs you to do something in the relationship or in the marriage to make it work. But then realize that I'm not really good at this. But then it's it falls on you to do it. So then you have to either rise to the challenge and then build capacity for that thing. Ask for the person's help that, hey, I'm not really good with this thing that you're asking. For instance, let me just bring this one. For instance, we know that a lot of men like to control the finances in relationship or in marriage, especially from our background, the background, the African background and Ghanaian background that we come from. But what if you are not so good with managing finances? Are you just going to watch the finances of the family go down the drain?
And just because you want to
and cause a lot of stress and heartache, or come clean to your wife or your other other person in the marriage and say, hey, I know you're expecting me to do this, but I'm not really there yet when it comes to this. Maybe I can work on it, but I'm not there yet. Can you help me in this way? Can you partner with me on this? And then this also brings my mind to the fact that it's good, if you're not married, to really get to know your strengths and the things you can do and the things you can't do too well, and the things come easily to you, and those things that you need to put extra effort in order to do them, so that when you're married, you're not unnecessarily having to strive on this and that. For instance, I know that I'm not good with finances. I'm working on it, right? I'm working on it. But in the moment, I know I'm not good. So I'm not going to handle the kind of finances that has to do with, the security of the family, when I know that I'm not going to, live up to the challenge. I'm going to leave it to the party that can do it excellently and then offer support. And then just to say this doesn't mean that if you're not the one that can handle something well, the other person should shut you out when it comes to that aspect. For instance, if you are the one that can really manage finances very well, it doesn't mean the other party that cannot should be completely shut out. You're doing it together, but one is taking the lead. Yes.
In doing that.
And then it works.
And it's quite interesting that you said that, because sometimes we tend to assume certain stereotypical roles, like the man has to do this, and this is a very big topic. Maybe the man needs to take care of that, and the woman needs to take care of that. But it's quite important that you said that, let's forget about gender here. We are coming together. It's as one unit. So if we are being assessed, we're not going to be assessed individually. It's going to be the marriage as one unit. So we need to know our strengths and our weaknesses, and know what we are good at. If the woman is good at something, by all means, it's okay for her to take the lead in that. If the man is good at something, it's good for him to take the lead in that. And then whatever you take the lead, I support. Whatever I take the lead, you support. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be like a good partnership, really.
And this, there's a lot of talk about who is the head of the family, but biblically, the man is the head of the family, right? We are equal, but we're not the same. We're different, right? We're different. We have different strength. And even go around this issue of gender,
right?
It could be that I am a female, right? I'm a woman. However, growing up, maybe I always had chefs cooking for us. Well, so I'm not so good with cooking. I must admit that now there is a lot of videos, like YouTube is a great help. If you're willing, even if you don't know how to cook, you can do that, right? But maybe I grew up in a household where I never had to cook. I never had to worry about cooking. I never had to worry about grocery shopping, because somebody always did it. So now that I'm married, there is an unspoken expectation from the other party that you have to do this, because maybe in your house it was always the ladies or your mom who was always doing it. So you have that expectation that, hey, my wife is going to do ABC automatically. So now that you're married, okay, you stay in the house and you're like, hey, this lady is not even asking about what we are going to do for the week or what kind of things we need in the house. Then you have to find a loving way to bring it up. However, if you can even start, if you can start, or if you've had a conversation before about it, that is great. But if you did not, then you have to talk about it and say, okay, I'm not really used to that. I am willing. And I think that in marriage, willingness is huge.
That's the key.
Being teachable, having that disposition that I am teachable, I can learn. I can learn. And when that person is learning and starting and making mistakes, you have to extend grace to that person so that the person is motivated that my little steps is appreciated and that you want
really
me to grow into it.
That's very important. So it's important that we know that something that really strengthens our bond is understanding each other and supporting each other. I mean, every human being has that desire to be supported and cheered on. So that's why you see athletes have some athletes have cheerleaders, or the spectators that are in the stadium, they are singing, and this sort of helps them perform. So every human being has that innate desire. So if you make your husband feel like he's supported,
doing great,
I mean, it may be that things might not be going well in those early years of marriage. He might be trying a new career, path. Things might not be going as he planned, but hey, if you cheer him on, it's going to make him really feel loved and supported, and that deepens the bond.
And just to give an example of that, this issue about trying a new career, it comes up in a lot of relationships and a lot of marriage, because sometimes when you're growing up, you haven't really locked into your passion yet. You haven't locked into that thing that you really love to do.
You're still young in the early years of marriage.
You're still mature, and you're getting to know yourself very well as you grow. And then you get married and you're like, I'm in this job, but I really am not motivated about it. I don't see myself in the next 5 years, in the next 2 years working here, because you go to work and you don't have the drive. So now, first of all, you have to know that it takes a lot for that person to come to you and say, I'm not happy in this job. So you should be happy, even though it might be a huge undertaking or a huge step for the marriage or for the union and for your plans, and even financially. Maybe that person's income, it's a huge support for the family. You have to acknowledge where the person is at. Say, hey, I understand you. I understand what you're feeling. I may not completely understand, but I'm here for you. I'm going to support you. What do you want to do? Let's make a plan. So you make a plan, even a financial plan, to help this person go into that which that person wants to do. Because we have seen that when people are really passionate about something, they make it work. And God favors the person, and the person keeps pushing until they've made it. So I think that is very, because I think that job and career, it comes up in marriages. Change.
So one of the things that we also sort of put down here to talk about, which some people unfortunately go through, is the pressure that comes from friends and family in relation to childbirth.
Yes.
And for us, well, not sure we had that kind of pressure, but sometimes couples have plans.
Yes.
And not everyone knows your plans.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, instead of family and friends supporting and just understanding that you have plans you set for yourself, it may be that, you don't plan to have kids in your first 5 years because maybe she's in school or he's in school. You want to finish school, do this, get a career path. Maybe you married when you were very young. It's possible, like you married at 22, 23. You want to wait until you're 28. There's nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, in certain cultures, people start to get that undue pressure. When are you starting a family? And I'm like, okay, what does this even mean? Because
Aren't we a family?
the moment I get married to someone, I've left my home, she's left her home. We are one. We are a family. So I think it's important to let people have that feeling that you don't need
you're a complete family.
You don't need a child to come in to validate your status as a family. And then this is something that this is not a topic. This is a topic for a whole episode.
I think it is.
Yeah. So
I think it is.
Maybe you can just share a few thoughts on that, and then we move on.
Yes. Sadly, I have had friends who have had that kind of pressure. Some people are not sensitive or measured in their comments to married couples, especially from the background that we come from, where children are the next thing, And I think that as people, even generally, we have to, protect ourselves and protect our space from what others say. You have to filter those things that are good for, your mind and your peace, and guard your heart against those things, because because when you don't, it can really get you into a certain space, make you sad for a prolonged time, thinking about it and fixated on it. And then I think that sometimes when you even listen to all these people and then you get fixated on it, you fail to see all the blessings that you're surrounded with. Now you get fixated on having a child because of the pressures that you're having. And then you are not really appreciating this newborn that you have with this person and really making it blossom and making it stronger. And I think that we have to realize, especially if you're a new couple, you have to know that the pressure will not stop with having one child or two. It's the same pressure we get when you're not married and when you're of age. Like, hey, when are you getting married? Hey, you're of age, you're a beautiful woman or a beautiful young lady, you are a gentleman, you're working, you're doing, when are you getting married? But good men and good women don't fall from the sky. It takes time, and you have to rather, and for those of us who, and sometimes we do it out of love and concern for the other people, but let's be measured in the way that we present it to them, know. And if you have had the opportunity to ask the person maybe once, don't keep asking. Sometimes it's from a genuine heart, but you've asked once. The person knows that you are concerned about this for that person, but don't keep asking.
I mean, when they start having children, you will know.
You will see.
You will see it. So there's no need asking, because it might be, for some people, it might be a decision. For others, it might be that they are trying.
They're having challenges
and having issues with it. So that's sometimes a sensitive topic.
Very sensitive.
And sometimes I actually kind of find it a bit interesting how some people have the courage to actually ask those questions directly. It's difficult for me to ask someone that question, even if I haven't heard from a friend in like 5 years and I knew they were married, sometimes it's very difficult to ask, do you have kids? Or it's difficult.
And then why is it that for I think that sometimes we're just not intentional. We have to be intentional and say, hey, just think about it. Okay, they've been married for this long. Hey, but I'm being intentional. I'm not going to ask about this.
No.
So you have to be intentional and say, these things are off limits.
Off limits.
This is a boundary. I have to give them, their space.
Yeah.
If it was something they wanted to share with you, they would. So if they're not sharing with you, it means that they just don't. They don't want to.
Yeah. And that's true. Let's talk about support systems. And we know that friends, family around us, do you think they have played a huge role in our first almost 5 years of marriage? Are these elements very important that we need to keep close? And also, while we're talking about, maybe we can think of how to manage some of them, and let them know where their boundaries extend to, and so on.
I think that going back to the analogy that you gave, like if there are two companies that are going into a merger, there are certain things that they might have to leave out of both old entities and then bring new things into this new merging space. So I think that in the same way, however, we do know and we do acknowledge that when two people get married, the families are also, coming into that relationship. So
in a way,
so in a way, both families on either side are coming into this whole merger. However, their role and their distance and the access that they have to this space is different. And then you have to decide. You have to decide what kind of access do these people have in our space. Okay. We extend love and honor and respect to our parents, our siblings, but there is a kind of boundary that is set. Boundary not being like physical, they cannot come to visit you, they can't call you. No, right? But probably there are some discussions that you have with your spouse that you're not going to have with your mother. Even if your mother is your best friend, this is your new best friend. Okay.
Exactly.
And that's it. This is your new best friend. To build trust, it has taken you years to build trust with your family before you got married. And it will take you time and you have to invest and pour into it. Right? So you have to decide, okay, what are the boundaries? What are the things that our extended family cannot do in this space, or more to say cannot, because some people are sensitive to their cannot, but what can they do, or how far or how close can they come? But to talk about support system, family is huge support.
And
huge
we've benefited from that quite a lot. Because I mean, it's not that I usually would not advise that you take things that you're supposed to discuss with your spouse to your family and so on. But sometimes your family, your parents can give you general advice. And it helps a lot. You can if you want advice, sometimes you can sort of engage in some kind of hypotheticals and then let them know, of course, sometimes if you say a friend of mine is having this issue, they might read into it
it's
and
you.
know that you're the one. But and for us,
for instance, if to think about like maybe hypotheticals, maybe you're doing a movie night with your family, right? And then an issue comes up, and then it is an issue that maybe you and your spouse are going through. You can say, hey, this person, the way he's going about this and that.
Try
and
to
then
pick
maybe
their
you
brain.
can pick their brain on that. So you can be wise in how you bring up issues so that you are still covering your spouse and you're not bringing up issues here and there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, and also like talking about support system, sometimes the family or grandparents can help with, looking after your children.
Realistic, very
and
realistic.
and that's a huge support.
It is.
It's something that you cannot downplay, because
No.
especially if you're not living back home, where you have a lot of extended family. If you're living in the diaspora, then it's not very easy to get your family, because getting your family here costs quite a bit. And even it's possible that your parents are still working. They can't be off work. If they are retired, great. But if they are not, it's not so easy. So to actually have that kind of support, and we've had that ourselves, and it's amazing, because even when it comes to raising the kids, sometimes you can just give a call and say, the child is having a fever, and that, especially because that you can discuss anytime, because you should be sure that your mom has gone through that with multiple kids, and seen it all, right? So there's great advice that we can get from our support system in that sense. Yeah, I think it's been a really wonderful discussion, and it's maybe we can just round it off with some lessons or anything you want to add.
Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna put all that I want to say. So I think that for newlyweds, or if you're about to get married, right? If you're preparing for your wedding, or about to get married, or even if you're married freshly, I think that for me, one thing is be teachable, be willing, and be teachable. Know that we can learn, and we can even unlearn things, to learn new things, to learn to do things differently. You might be doing the same thing, but you just need to do it differently. So be willing, just be willing, have a willing heart, have a willing disposition, have a learning spirit, and be ready for some kind of change. Change is inevitable, right? So be ready for some kind of change, and just know that everything that you do is for the good of the marriage, is for the good of the relationship. And to those of you who are not married yet, maybe still in the courting period, I hope that this episode can be a way. I want you to go, listen to the episode, and the things that we've talked about, make them into questions, make them into questions and ask each other. Sometimes when we are courting, we don't know the questions we should ask each other. But through the episodes that we'll be doing, and today especially, we've talked about so many different aspects. So make them into questions and ask each other, and pick each other's mind and where each other is when regarding all the things that we've talked about, so that you can hopefully understand each other better.
Yeah, and then I want to say, in the very first few years of marriage, this is a time where you sort of two different visions. I have a completely different vision in my role. Hopefully it's not very different, but sometimes they may be completely different paths. And this is when you want to try and make it as one vision among the two of you. And in this moment, you need to really work at having open communication, discussing a lot. There's some of these things need to be done actually before you get married, so that you know where he's going and where she is going, so that you can align your goals and so on. And so that when you are setting goals for the year or targets for the year, it's a family
holistic,
family vision and goal. So it's very important in those few years. And then I think for me, even in discussing things in this episode, I have also so many things that have really juggled my mind, and I believe that people listening to this episode would have picked a thing or two.
Yeah. And I think I forgot one important thing to say.
Let us hear it.
Please lean into the Holy Spirit. Listen to the Holy Spirit. Like, take everything to God in prayer. Don't underestimate what prayer can do and how prayer can, bring things to your mind, how the Lord can lay things in your heart, give you wisdom. Ask the Lord for wisdom, how the Lord can give you wisdom to go through different phases of your marriage, especially in the newlywed phase. Lean into the Lord, lean into the wisdom of the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
I think this was a fun episode.
Been great, yes.
Yeah. And hopefully you all enjoyed today's episode on navigating the newlywed phase. All right. So,
this has been Life on Stereo. Be sure, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, click on the notification bell so that you will not miss any video. And we are asking that you leave your comments, your thoughts, your questions. Okay, you can also send us an email if you don't want to put your question in the comment section, and we will write all that in the description section. And if you're listening to the podcast on whatever streaming platform that you have, whether Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please follow this podcast and leave a review so that it will be recommended to a whole lot other people.
Great. So thank you for listening to us, and we'll definitely catch you in the next episode. See you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Live on Stereo. We hope you found our conversation insightful and inspiring.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share, or leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms. See you in the next episode.